Welcome back to the Making the Madness team preview series. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Gonzaga Bulldogs.
The starting five for the Gonzaga Bulldogs this season will look like Joel Ayayi at the 1, Jalen Suggs, top 10 recruit, at the 2. At 3, they will have sharpshooter Corey Kispert. At the 4, they'll have former top 100 recruit who sat last season, Anton Watson. And at the 5, the best player in college basketball, Drew Timme.
Had to throw in best player in college basketball, Drew Timme, didn't you?
I had to. You knew it was going to happen.
It was definitely going to happen. I like this Gonzaga lineup. I think, one thing we've seen work really well in March Madness has been kind of having two guards, and Ayayi and Suggs are two excellent, fantastic guards. Ayayi's just really good at doing pretty much everything you could ask for. He's a good defender. He's a good scorer. He's can shoot, can pass. Like he's a perfect player. And then Suggs is just so athletic, so good defensively. That I really like this backcourt.
Yeah, definitely. He put up 6 rebounds a game last year. Shot 34% from deep, 49% from the field. Just your typical do-it-all guard, and that works perfect for this Gonzaga team. And with Jalen Suggs, like you said, he's a very talented scorer, great athlete. He's a smart player too because he's a quarterback who had a lot of Power 5 offers to play football too, and opted to play basketball instead and headed to Gonzaga. And then obviously with Corey Kispert, you have an elite shooter. Anton Watson, it's kind of, what are we going to get from him at this point? Because he was hurt last season. But he's a big-time recruit. He's a big guy, 6'8", kind of skinny, but he can, make some things happen this season. And Drew Timme, of course, the best player in college basketball, replacing Philip Petrusev, will have plenty of opportunity to show why he's the best player in college basketball. Very gifted scorer down low, great rebounder, plays with high energy, everything you like to see from a Gonzaga big.
Yeah, definitely. And then, on the wing, obviously Corey Kispert's just the perfect 3-and-D player. We've mentioned him earlier. Like, he's an elite shooter, shot over 40% from 3. He can, score inside. He can come, go back out, step in, knock down a bucket. That's what you need out of a perfect 3-and-D player, which he is. Anton Watson, he's gifted. He's talented. We'll see kind of what he does, what he learned kind of in his redshirt year. If he'll start, maybe they go with like an Umar Ballo, or maybe they put Kispert at the 4. We don't know exactly what Mark Few has up his sleeve, but just having those two guys can be big on the wing. And then obviously Drew Timme down low. The only issue with Timme seemed to be last year he just didn't play enough, which is partially because he fouled all the time. If you can tell him, hey, give up a few more baskets defensively, but we need you on the court to be that perfect 5-man. If he can do that, nothing's stopping him from being the leading scorer on the nation's #1 team.
Yeah, fouls were certainly an issue for Timme last season. Hopefully he cleans that up a bit. In his 20 minutes a game, he had about 3. Obviously, with the uptick in work, he's going to need to limit that a little bit. But I would like to see some Umar Ballo and Drew Timme lineups down the stretch. Umar Ballo is just a huge human being, very strong, will definitely make defenders think. It's a little less of a I guess, you're kind of know you're getting more so less shooting because Timme's not a shooter really, although Mark Few did say he's worked on a 3-point shot this offseason, and Ballo definitely cannot shoot.
Yeah, 3-point shot just would make Drew Timme even that much better. And you might draft Drew Timme #1 overall instead of Cade Cunningham if it was up to you.
I would have done that anyways, but yeah.
Looking at the bench, the Bulldogs have a really deep bench. We're obviously going to key in on a couple players, but they can run 11 deep. Aaron Cook, Dominic Harris, Julian Strother, Umar Ballo, you mentioned him earlier, Martinez Arlauskas, and then Pavel Zakharov. I think Zakharov would probably be a candidate to redshirt, but certainly this is a very deep bench. One player I kind of key in on is Aaron Cook. He's just someone that just prototypical come off the bench, Geno Crandall type role. He can come in off the bench, play some minutes, probably play about 20 minutes a game, be like another ball handler. Like they need any more ball handling because they already have two outstanding ball handlers. Why not add a third? And that's what Aaron Cook, I think, can provide to them.
Yeah, definitely. Aaron Cook, and he spent really 4 seasons at Southern Illinois, but got hurt early last season, which was looking to be his best season. He's never been a great shooter or anything like that, but he's always been able to run an offense and be that kind of guy. He had 3.2 steals per game this season, only 6 games. Shot 55% from the field in those 6 games. But you look at him, and then another guy I'd key in on is Julian Strother, a top 100 recruit this season. If Anton Watson struggles early, I think Watson and Strother are kind of the same kind of guy. I think that Strother will definitely take some of Watson's minutes if he struggles early, and he can kind of play the 3/4 role. He can be a wing guy, and he can be a 4-man. Both those things will be needed for this Gonzaga team, and they just have a surplus of depth on this team.
Yeah, definitely.
The departures for the Gonzaga Bulldogs that will be big is losing Philip Petrusev, Killian Tilly, and Ryan Woolridge. They also lose Admon Gilder. But the big ones are obviously Tilly and Petrusev. Petrusev was an All-American last season. He opted to play overseas rather than return to the Bulldogs in a somewhat shocking story a couple months back. He was a pretty bad defender, really slow player, kind of just an old-school big man who, I just think that Timmy overall is the far superior talented player. So I think you'll be able to see that. So, losing Petrusev is big, obviously, but I do think that Timmy will be able to step into his role pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, definitely. And then the other one, Killian Tilly, I think more irreplaceable of the two, just because Tilly's more of a shooter, can kind of be that, you know, interior force that while stepping out and shooting. I just remember, I think it was the 2018, kind of later in the season, he dominated the WCC tournament by stepping out, shooting threes at an elite level. So then, you know, obviously that's going to be important. Ryan Woolridge is another player. He was kind of solid. Him and Gilder at the point kind of worked well off Joel Ayayi playing together. I think that was kind of a good three-headed monster. But you add in Jalen Suggs, you know bring back Drew Timmy. I think while the pieces that are leaving are important pieces, I think Gonzaga can quite easily fill those roles and even be slightly better in those types of roles.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So the key for Gonzaga, it will kind of be what to expect this season. The first question up here: do they win the WCC? I think unless an asteroid hits the Gonzaga building and they don't play any games this season, Gonzaga is winning the WCC because this roster's 10 times better than the next team. Uh, the only player that I think will end up making a first team All WCC because it's going to be surrounded by 4 Gonzaga players, I think is going to come from Colby Ross, but out of Pepperdine. But you take out Colby Ross, and the rest of that first team All WCC is going to be all Gonzaga players. This team is just absolutely loaded, so I don't see any way they don't run through the WCC.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment there. But at the same time, we have seen crazy things happen. A couple seasons ago, obviously, Gonzaga was a 17 or 18-point favorite before getting run out of the building in the WCC tournament championship game by Jordan Ford and the Gales of St. Mary's. This season, obviously, St. Mary's is down, but there is some other good teams in the WCC to look out for. Obviously, as you said, with Pepperdine having Colby Ross, he can be a great player once more in his senior season. Kessler Edwards is one of the most underrated players in the nation, shot over 40% from three as a big man. That's something, you definitely need. as a winning recipe these days. And two other teams you got to keep your eye on is BYU. They lose Jake Toulson, who was the best shooter in college basketball last season. They lose TJ Haws, who was at BYU for at least 20 years. They lose Yoli Childs. They lose Dax Elias. All of those are big losses, but they do return Alex Barcelo, who I think could average 15 a game this season. And they add Matt Harms from Purdue, who's one of the better defenders in the nation. He just doesn't know. I don't think he realizes he's 7'3" and can kind of just bully the opponents on the block. Instead, he's like, you know what? I'm going to sit on the perimeter and try to hit threes, and it doesn't work. And then the last team to look out for is San Francisco, led by Todd Golden, one of the best up-and-coming coaches in college basketball, played at St. Mary's under Randy Bennett, but he's such a smart basketball mind, and they have one of the better guard duos in the country with Jamari Boye and Khalil Shabazz. Those two will lead the Dons to one of their better seasons in recent memory.
Yeah, I just can't think of. I really like Pepperdine going into next year. I just can't think of any way to trust Lorenzo Romar to do anything productive. That's the only question
Not
with
at all.
Pepperdine. If they were coached by Todd Golden, and then Lorenzo Romar was coaching San Francisco, I think we'd be talking pretty clearly about Pepperdine being the a charming caliber team. But realistically, the WCC, they just don't have the talent, at least this year, to really challenge Gonzaga. Maybe that changes. Maybe some player comes out of nowhere. Maybe Colby Ross averages 40 a game and defeats Gonzaga. But as far as I see it, there's no team that I think can even beat Gonzaga, and that goes to the next question: can they enter the NCAA tournament undefeated? I think the answer definitely is going to be a yes, because I think they'll just run through the WCC, and all you need to do really, with this shortened season is get 6 or 7 wins. I think it's, they'll either play 24, 25 games. 18 of those will be WCC games, I believe, which means all you got to do is win 6 or 7 non-conference games, and I think it's definitely capable they can enter the NCAA tournament, if not, likely that they enter the NCAA tournament undefeated.
Yeah, definitely. I certainly think there's a chance they can enter undefeated. The one way I could see them definitely dropping a game, though, is if Drew Timme gets in early foul trouble and can't really stay in the game for more than a few minutes at a time. If that were to happen, they'd need big minutes out of Umar Ballo and him to stay out of foul trouble also. If foul trouble could be the one thing that plagues the Zags this season, Drew Timme needs to know when to give up on the play. If he's beat, let them score. Don't give up a foul. It's tough to give up points, but sometimes you have to.
Yeah, definitely. And they're right now going to try to play Baylor. That would be a fun game. Very fun game.
Definitely.
And then the last question, can they win it all? We've been talking about them going undefeated, so obviously we agree they can win it all. I think they're the current favorites, at least in our eyes. Some people like Baylor, some people like Villanova. You like Illinois. We talked about them earlier, but just I think Gonzaga has the most talent right now in the country. The roster fits the best, and come to me when you have a team that has 4 top 50 players in the sport like Gonzaga does. When that happens, I'll consider that team a championship caliber team. But until then, I think Gonzaga is the team to beat.
Definitely, the Zags are a shoe-in to make the Sweet 16 just about every season. People who say they fail in the tournament every year is incorrect and do not know what they're talking about.
Good news is, for those people, they'll put an asterisk on this season.